Hello and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today for another edition of our redk webinars. Today we'll be covering everything AI and agentic AI within customer experience, and particularly beyond the buzzword. So looking at advanced AI and essentially the future of agentic AI within customer experience. So hopefully today, from a very short session within the next 20 minutes, we'd love to hopefully cut through that noise within AI and particularly within customer experience and customer service and show you where many organizations are looking to improve or looking to optimize or looking to understand further when it comes to AI, as I say. Many questions we receive on a daily basis. What does it actually mean to us? Where do we need to start? How long does it take to achieve what we're looking for? And so hopefully we can give you some context, give you some insight, but more importantly, we can give you some valuable understandings of what that looks like in a practical demonstration. And I'm joined by Corey, and we'll go through the agenda and instructions in a moment. As I say, hopefully by the end of today's session, we'll give you a bit of a clear, actionable framework that you guys can take away within your organizations to become AI ready, and hopefully some ideas that you can put into practice almost immediately. And hopefully we can be available to support should you need to. So by way of introduction and agenda, we're going to be covering a few topics today, but I think it's important to note that the magic will be in the demonstration. So I don't want to have this sort of a death by PowerPoint, but I think it's important to set some framework, set some context, just so we can understand where the conversation has come from and where we're sort of moving towards in the future. So we're covering a couple of topics. Essentially, what does it mean to be AI ready? What is AI in Zendesk and within customer experience, customer service? And then, as I say, we'll finish up with a bit of a demonstration, and we'll also open up the floor for some question and answer should anybody have any follow-up sort of queries or thoughts as well. So by way of introduction, my name's George, and I'm the lead senior AI and customer experience consultant here at redk. And I wanted to bring along with me the experts or the brains behind this through Corey from Zendesk. So Corey, lovely to have you on the session. Maybe you'd just like to give a couple of words by way of introduction.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for having me. Great to be here. So I'm Corey, one of the senior AI product specialists at Zendesk. So working within the Zendesk ecosystem, but solely focused on AI agents and Copilot. So everything, bots, automation, you name it, kind of comes to me.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Excellent. So why are we having this conversation today, and why do we work with Zendesk, and what are we hearing across the board? But I think it's important maybe just to set the scene in terms of who we are here at redk. And hopefully many of you know exactly who we are, but I think sometimes it's quite nice just to understand the company behind the presentation or behind the webinar that we're hosting today. So we are redk, and by trade, I suppose, if you like, we are a CRM and CX consultancy. We are actually 20 years this year within this space, and we originated as an engineering company. And we now employ employees, or we have colleagues across Spain, UK, and of course Sofia, as you can see on the map here. And we have over 70 senior CRM and CX specialists. Essentially, that means that we are all qualified to help with customers to onboard with various different products, particularly within Zendesk and AI. So we can help all customers arrange from implementing Zendesk from the very start, adopting AI, or even optimizing what they've already got. And we can bring in the senior specialists and expertise as and when the time is necessary. And as a result, we have implemented over 400 successful CRM and CX implementations. As a result, we've been recognized from Zendesk, as you can see here, awarded Partner of the Year, and we've also a Premier Partner from the year 2017 as well. So sometimes I'll say it's nice just to have a bit of context there as well. So as I say, we want to make this session as engaging as possible. So I don't want to dwell on anything too much, but I think it's important just to start off. What do we see as being AI ready? And I think what I wanted to do is do a bit of analysis, speaking to some of our customers in today's world. And I wanted to try and put it into 3 different buckets of topics that we're hearing or what we're seeing across the board. And also, Corey, I'd love to hear your thoughts and input as well in a moment. But what we're seeing here, I suppose, as consultants and working with our customers day to day, looking at customer experience, customer service, and adopting AI, or even those that have AI, and what are the next steps to evolve with that. I suppose I've broken it down into 3 areas: data and infrastructure, people and process, and then vision and strategy. And I suppose you could argue that you could put those things in any customer experience project, customer service, or even CRM project. But in particular, there are some sort of themes that we're seeing across the 3 areas. When it comes to data and infrastructure, it's about understanding, do we have clear, accessible, and connected data? So we work in fragmented. Do we know where the data is? Do we have a golden source of truth? And can we really use that as a reliable source? As I say, we follow on them. Our systems integrated seamlessly. Are we still using Excel and Word documents? Are we still copying and pasting documents or information between one system to another? If so, that's fine. But that also gives us an area of opportunity to understand where we are in today's world. And also, we're working with technology that's scalable for growth. So are we using the best in class? Zendesk, of course, is a real standout for that, but making sure that the technology can evolve and grow, and we're not dealing with systems that are built for the past and legacy solutions that need to be replaced as we evolve. Secondly, we're seeing as a trend is sort of people and processes. So do we have teams sort of trained or ready to take on AI tools, and therefore they can be as effective as possible? Do we have clear workflows and governance in place, so we're not just trying to put paper over the cracks? We're just trying to make sure that we understand what the workflows and the processes are. If we are to make those changes, do we have a governance in place that can sign these things off, that are on board and understand the future of where we're looking to go? And then lastly, I suppose in conjunction with that is that we have a change management strategy to assure adoption. So we certainly know with AI that it's evolving every day, if not every minute. And so it's not always best advisable to build something for 6 months' time, but it certainly is to build sort of in small chunks. So that could be 1, 2, 3 months adoption, but that will change and evolve over time. So therefore, do we have a team in place? Do we have a strategy? Do we have a North Star goal to an extent? But where we know that that's quite fluid and that can change as we move forward. I think that then leads nicely into the vision and strategy. I think we hear lots of people looking to just add AI for the sake of adding AI. And what does that really mean? That's such a vague term, such a vague thing. AI, as I say, is spoke about almost in everyday's life, not just in our professional experience. So we want to make sure that we have clear, defined goals of what we're trying to address with AI, or maybe even automation to begin with. And if we look to adopt AI, what exact value is that going to bring? Is that return on investment, increased revenue, increased customer satisfaction, reduced churn rate? But is there a North Star objective, as I say, that we're looking to achieve? Secondly, most importantly, you could argue is that do we have the right buy-in within the business, and do we have sponsorship from the executive team? We recognize that everybody wants to make a change and wants to make a difference, and that's great, but we need to make sure that it's coming top down as well as bottom up, and it's important that we have everybody almost singing off the same hymn sheet there to add the real value that we're looking to achieve. And then lastly, and again, you could argue most importantly, do we have a roadmap that balances the short-term wins versus the long-term wins, as I say, because it's very difficult to design something with AI for 6 months' time, because we know the technology changes, we know our customers change, the product changes, the governance changes. And so therefore we need to be able to be agile and adapt sort of as we move forward. So as I say, they're the trends and the themes that I think we're seeing in particular when it comes to adopting AI, or why it matters now. What does it really mean essentially? But Corey, maybe just to flip it to yourself, I suppose, particularly working with the product itself, and I'm sure you work with a vast number of customers just like we do, but would you say this resonates with the conversations you're having? Is there anything that you would adapt or even add as a result?
No, I think I think you've covered the bases there. I think the other maybe thing to add, in terms of the question at the top of the slide there, like why it matters now, it's just what we see and hear in the market. So just the general rising customer expectations, the demand for, I think this is no secret, it's been around for a few years now, the need for personalization. And with that, with the use of kind of, I guess, people being more comfortable with large language models, using them in more of their day-to-day lives and kind of roles. Yeah, that customer expectation is continuing to increase, to have an immediate personalized response, to have it 24/7 and on the channel that suits them best, whether they're on the go and want to be using WhatsApp, whether they're firing off a quick email, submitting a web form, or of course kind of submitting something online. So yeah, I definitely think that having AI almost, as you talked about it, as a foundation now is going to become more and more critical. I don't think it's a secret that it seems AI is going anywhere. You've touched on it already, George. We're seeing the rate of change with the adoption of the technology just continue to grow. And obviously with that, there comes the advantages, of scalability, of costs. We can then dive into the world of kind of agent productivity and satisfaction as well, helping them focus on the really business critical tasks, no longer needing to worry about the mundane and repetitive. But yeah, I think, taking both kind of the business view of why it's so important, but also what your customers expect, all kind of centralizes on the same themes.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, really good point. And I think, like you say, emphasis there on the future and how we adopt and how we grow with this. I think that's a really valuable point. So what does that mean as we see it, I suppose, in the Zendesk AI world? As I said, there's AI for almost every walk of life, every use case, but I think it's important that we then zone in maybe just on particular customer experience and customer service, but also you could argue any Zendesk use case, because we know, of course, Zendesk is very versatile for HR, for payroll, for IT use cases, and that certainly means that AI is a good fit for those use cases as well. So in terms of the, I suppose, Zendesk Advanced AI, Zendesk AI, and we want to try and make it easy because there's lots of terminology when it comes to AI, as I've already mentioned. And hopefully, Corey, you can cut through some of that noise for us in a moment as well. But what I wanted to try and do is try and make it easy and almost a bit of a four-step guide as to what it could mean to either get started with Zendesk tomorrow and maybe just things to think about, particularly if you're coming from a space of you don't know what you need to do and you know you need to adopt it because you don't want to fall behind. And if you don't do something, that could be at a greater cost than doing something incorrectly, you could argue. So what I've tried to do is sort of formulate that into four steps, I suppose. And I suppose what the first one is defining how ready you really are. And again, that's very subjective, you could argue. But what I argue is to break it down into different areas and address where your team and your organization stands today, the data quality, the processes, the culture. What are you looking to try to achieve with AI? Is it one man band that's trying to address this, or is it a team? Is it a cohesive project that we're trying to address? And I think just taking a step back sometimes and understanding that puts you in a really good position to say, right, we want AI and there's a really good use case, a really, CSAT's really low. We need to improve this, agent productivity, assignment rates and so on. But actually, I'm doing this alone and the data that we have is really not up to scratch. So that's an area that we want to maybe understand. What is it we're trying to define? Then I think comes into the Zendesk world in particular, or customer experience. What is essential? What is advanced? So if you looked on the Zendesk website, there's a huge amounts of resource and really good knowledge and information available. And I'd certainly recommend people to take the time if they do have to read that, of course. But again, understanding what are the differences? What does Zendesk offer when it comes to AI capabilities, generative responses, intent management, sentiment analysis, auto triaging, then taking it to the next level, looking at advanced AI features. So Copilot, automation, solutions, end-to-end solutions. And I think we're not saying that you need to come to the table to actually answer those questions. It's just about understanding what does the product offer you to then understand where are the gaps and where could you leverage the technology to improve what you're looking to achieve. And as I said, that first step's really key to understand where you are today. Then we understand what the product offers, and then we can sort of see, where's the gap and what can we leverage essentially. Hopefully, once we've done those 2 points, we can then understand exactly what's the cost of not doing anything, as I say, or maybe staying quite still and things being quite fragmented. Is it inefficient support, frustrated customers, missed opportunities? So where is AI going to come in? What's the goal that we're trying to do, we're trying to achieve, with AI? We understand where we are, we understand the technology and what it offers, and that's where we can obviously come in and support you. And then, of course, through Corey, which we'll see in a moment with the demo. And then obviously we can see where the gap is. Hopefully, once we've got those things again, we can then create a bit of a step-by-step project plan, a guide, understanding where we're trying to implement things through technology. What's the gap? What are we trying to address? What's the leverage? And essentially, we can build a business plan if we need to, producing that return on investment and so on and so forth. So hopefully that makes it fairly easy. I'm fully aware that it's also at a very high level. But again, we can help you uncover those sort of challenges or those thoughts, or we can at least plant the seed for each organization to go away and have a bit of a homework, so to speak, as I like to say. Corey, maybe just throw it back at you again. I think the second point is a real interest, particularly for me sometimes, but also for our customers or future customers. In your words, I suppose, what are the differences in AI at Zendesk and in customer experience in today's world?
Yeah, good question. And I agree the terminology can sometimes be a little bit confusing. So it's always good to be super clear. And within Zendesk, I think we really see kind of two core products leading, I guess, what we consider AI, those being our AI agents, which we name AI Agents Essential and AI Agents Advanced, which is really kind of focused on the customer experience and kind of automating on the front end. So AI interacting with your customers day in, day out. We then also have Copilot, which is much more in the kind of Zendesk instance, supporting your agents with productivity and kind of the features you've mentioned. That's a little bit easier. So one size kind of fits all that we can place and obviously then create unique procedures, etc. for. With our AI agents, Essentials is really looking at kind of the first level of automation. So it's more of an out-of-the-box solution that's connecting to your existing knowledge bases to just give generative answers. So almost think large language models, but instead of reading the whole internet, it's just going to find answers from your knowledge base and reply in a very conversational manner. So we've gone with the just links to existing help center articles and actually giving the relevant responses, which is really a great way to start kind of playing with AI and understanding its value and getting a sense of how repetitive your questions are as well. We can then move from there into our advanced AI agents, which allows us to dig a little bit deeper into the most repetitive use cases. So it comes with a whole host of much deeper analytics that allows us to highlight, okay, what are the top 5, 10, 15 use cases that customers are asking every single day, and how can we take them from here's information from our knowledge base to actually writing a whole procedure that starts to add a really specific process and guidance or steps for that AI agent to follow, which can then start to include putting data in from backend systems, taking action on behalf of the customer, with no kind of human agent involvement needed. So you really see quite a significant jump from essential to advanced, but essential definitely being a great starting point. Or again, depending on the knowledge and the content you have available.
Amazing. Okay, no, perfectly. I think that's crystal clear, which I think, as you say, is very important. So at this point, then, I think rather than me ramble on anymore, I see some questions coming through the chat, but maybe, Corey, what would be good is to essentially see this in action, and we can see a bit more what you're referring to there, and we see the product. I think it's always important. So I'll just start sharing my screen, and hopefully you can take over.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Cool. So what I have here is our beautiful Zenify Zen shop. So it's a nice demo e-commerce environment that we have to walk you through today. I'm using the Zendesk messaging widget. Now, I mentioned this earlier, our AI agents can support customers wherever they are. So it really does depend on the channels you're using to interact. But yeah, for illustration today, we've got the messaging widget. And I think the first thing to call out as we look at this advanced AI agent, just to be super clear based on the last point, is that we actually have AI agents now that are both, well, that they have a multi-agent architecture, which means there's very specialized agents within each conversation focused on really specific tasks that are all powered by adaptive reasoning. So it allows our AI agents to really have a level of thought or decision making whilst remaining goal orientated. So the underlying goal for all AI agents is to focus on customer resolution. So that can take many different forms, obviously depending on your organization, what those goals will be will vary slightly. What we do see is a big significant shift in terms of engagement with AI agents or with chat or support is actually just having much more of a conversational experience. So even here, as I open my widget, we're gone with the, okay, hi, how can I help you? You can ask me one of these 4 questions and you can only stick these buttons. I think historically, I know as a customer, if I see that, I'm thinking, oh dear, I'm going to get stuck in a loop. This probably isn't going to be very helpful. So just having a super open, ask me anything kind of interface can be really, really powerful. I can come in as a customer and just ask whatever my question may be. Now, in this first example is exactly what we talked about and what we would use the knowledge agent for. So it's content, it's a repetitive question. We know there's an answer for in our knowledge base, but just given that by nature, us humans tend to be lazy, maybe I didn't want to go look for it myself. I can, of course, choose to display the article if I did want to go ahead and read that, or as I much prefer, I've got a nice short conversational step-by-step and bullet points here. Okay, how do I actually become a member? And then because we have that adaptive reasoning, we can chop and change the conversations. So great, I've got my first answer. Don't need to worry about kind of getting stuck in a loop. I can say, great, okay. So does that include, I don't know, France, for example? I can just have context within the conversation and speak to our AI agent in a very human-like fashion. I think that's one of the biggest differences. I think at the start of the year, we saw that, consumer favorability for AI and customer experience had risen to 67%. That was up, I think, over 10% from the year before and is only continuing to rise. So definitely something that we see. People want to have that human-like experience, but accepting and acknowledging that it is AI. And that's really kind of super straightforward. So I can go backwards and forwards, have all of my FAQs. But then in the same interface, again, by using different agents, I can then actually start to trigger particular use cases. And that's where it starts to get really powerful. So I can ask in update, for example. So a really, really vague question that historically, with maybe, intents that we would have written in the past, would have sent the bot maybe a little bit into a frenzy or confusion or a I do not understand message, because it doesn't match the exact wording or the exact way a customer would maybe ask a particular question. Here, our AI agent is able to understand that it needs more information. So, okay, great, you need an update, but is it about an order or is it about something else? Like, what exactly is it that you're asking me so that I can best serve you and really help you get, if we think back to that goal orientation, to a resolution? So, where is my stuff? Again, we can obviously think about the numerous different use cases, and this is where working with Zendesk and definitely working with a partner can be really powerful, right? To understand the use cases that are specific to your organization or into your industry. But here, we've now shifted from using a purely generative response to what we call a procedure, which we're able to write in plain natural language, which is basically a step-by-step guide of instructions that we give to our AI agent to really solve this request. So because I'm asking about an order update, so where is my stuff? It knows that I need to collect an email address to my demo environment. Is super straightforward. To then be able to go and actually do and take action on my path. So now that I've verified or been kind of authenticated, I've matched my order ID with my email, which we can do in a number of different ways. I can look in the back end in the order management system and have the AI agent present my last 3 orders, the dates in which I ordered them, and actually what the items are talking about. So, okay, which one of these is it? Again, getting that clarifying question, making sure we're really getting to the heart of the issue. It's asked me for the order number. Again, with adaptive reasoning, the system's clever enough to be able to make those kind of decisions. So if I say the t-shirt instead of the order number, it's able to know, okay, I'm talking about the order from today. It's been processed, it'll be on its way soon. Great. So everything I needed to know in one super straightforward, easy window. Again, we can create as many of these use cases as we need, to really just have that human experience. But it's also worth noting, and I think this is maybe one misconception sometimes with AI, the AI doesn't have to be the be all and end all. We understand that there are a number of different customers we work with, and I'm sure it's the same for you, George, at redk, that there's really great use cases that are really repetitive, that it makes a lot of sense to automate and to have an AI agent handle. There are also times within different companies where there's processes that are really kind of overly complex, the hyper specialized requests. Maybe they're not as repetitive, but actually it makes sense to still leverage your existing kind of agent teams, right? So we want to make sure that we're using AI in the right way. And in those instances, we can still absolutely collect kind of the information up front or handing over to a human agent to make sure the customer's getting the right experience in the right scenarios. That's just one call out from a question you asked earlier. Mm-hmm. Oh, looks like I've just been logged out, which is always good. What you need live on a demo. I'll just log in, show the back end super quickly. There's a couple of things I wanted to highlight, and it's really, I guess, to the point around how do you get started with AI agents? Why is it so important? And I think it can seem a little bit daunting if it's not something you've maybe done in the past. So in terms of Zendesk AI agents, with our advanced AI agents, there's really kind of 2 steps to get started. The first is as easy as adding your knowledge base. Of course, if you're using Zendesk, that is a case of just adding your subdomain and allowing the AI agent to pull that in as its content source. And the second is then just adding your personalization. So different brands, different tones of voice, super, super important. We don't want every AI agent that is provided by Zendesk to sound and look and feel the same. So we give it the ability to create that name, to give a business profile, and to actually set your tone of voice. So you would have seen my AI agent was providing relatively short, quite casual, conversational, like enthusiastic in terms of tone. We have other presets. We also have the ability to create your own custom tone or voice. So we can be as wild or as crazy as we would like here, really reflect the brand guidelines. I'll go for something quite extreme, just to illustrate the point. So if I ask the same question I had earlier, how do I become a member? We have my nice short bullet points. get the same response taken from the knowledge base, but now just with that extra, ZenFI brand guidelines on top. In our case, a pirate. And that's really it. From those steps, you can get going. You can have those generative responses kind of live, working with your customers. And beyond that, we can start to build our use cases. Now, this is probably a whole session in itself, so I won't dive into kind of every step of how these are created. But really, really quickly, they basically need a headline. So what is the actual customer reason? There's no need to train lots of historic ways of asking the same question. And then we have a really quick and easy no-code procedure builder, which allows us to write in plain natural language our step-by-step guide. So the example we saw a moment ago was just collect the user email, produce an API call, which you could build in a separate part of the platform. Again, probably something for a different session. Here's the information to show, clarify the order, and provide them the details. So once you have an idea of what your use cases are, again, a great time to use partners to really map out what those journeys are, which use cases make the most sense to automate. It's really quick and easy to then take those almost SOPs that I'm sure you already have, turn them into a language that's really easily understood, and get them running. Right. Conscious of time, like I said, I could talk about this all day long. So if you don't stop me, I will keep going.
No. It's really insightful, and I think it's really nice to see, because I think everybody's probably engaged with a version of a chatbot, some sort of generative responses. So sometimes that's maybe a bit naive, but it's quite easy to maybe understand that concept. But I think just seeing that back end there gives it a bit more life, I think, and I think it's quite important to be able to just see quite how simple it can be in those two steps. And I think what we can do, as you say, is what we don't want to do is just add AI for the sake of adding AI. You made a really good point earlier on. Like we're not. There's a real big misconception here of that these advanced AI agents are taking over our human agents. That is far from the truth, I believe. And I think actually we just want to understand what are the repetitive tasks, and where can we make agents' life, the humans' agents' life, that little bit easier. So maybe this is just the first sort of point of that. We can give them that human element, but then when we can then hand over those low value tasks, we can solve those low value tasks, sorry, but then hand over those more complex ones to the agent. And that's going to drive more customer loyalty, agent efficiency, and so on and so forth. So I think what we want to do as a starting point is understand where are we starting from, what processes do we have, what use cases do we have, map those out, and then we can come back to the table with the technology, and we've seen firsthand how easy that is. So I think that's really good. So thank you very much. Cool. Also very conscious of time, but there are a couple of questions that I would maybe just love to float by yourself, Corey, and I can also sort of dive in with my perspective as well. If a customer was to say they don't have any, and what they deem as they don't have any AI capabilities, and they were to ask, where should we start? What would your immediate advice be to a question such as that?
Yeah, I think the obviously with Zendesk, the great place to start is essentials. It's that kind of out of the box functionality. In order for essential AI agents to be really powerful and to kind of help get that kind of first level of automation, it's really about making sure you have the right knowledge and content in place. AI is amazing. It's obviously a huge umbrella term. It can be super powerful, but it's only as good as the data behind it, right? So making sure you have that data, that information available is really, really powerful. So just having a regular review, and look, historically it's not been the most fun task of any agent to manage a knowledge base to make sure it's up to date and refreshed. But I think in the world of AI, it's fundamentally the foundation. What you get out is only ever going to be as good as what you put in. So it's definitely worth a review of your knowledge base and the content. And if you're looking then at moving from essentials to advanced, again, I think it comes down to data quality and availability. You don't want to have scattered, incomplete, unreliable data in back-end systems. If you have a customer, with our example we just went through, that wants to know where their order is, you need to make sure you can verify who that customer is, look up their order, and provide the exact delivery details or tracking link to really make that a powerful kind of automation.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, no, really good answer. And I think that bleeds into another question actually that's just been raised, is that what would be the first signs an organization isn't AI ready? And I think you just sort of answered that to an extent, in the fact that data is inconsistent, data is fragmented, there isn't a sort of not an automated, but a semi-automated, if you will, a real cohesive way of working within a Zendesk or a customer experience environment. Maybe teams are relying quite heavily on manual triaging, they're copy and pasting things, data's inconsistent, and maybe things just aren't aligned as well. So I think there's an element taking a step back as to where we are today. What are the things we're doing? And maybe we don't have to start with AI. Maybe it's just starting a bit simpler than that, than just getting things moving in an efficient way, working in the same direction, and then we can come back to the table to look at those low-hanging fruit, repetitive tasks, make sure the data, the help center in the data is as valuable as it can be, and then that sort of moves into the next step. Excellent. Okay, I think that's all we have time for. There's a couple more questions, but we can of course always follow up afterwards. As I say, we pleasure you for everybody joining. Thank you, Corey, as well, for making the time. Hopefully that's been valuable for everybody joining today. And we'd love to continue the conversation should anybody want to just explore further how we can support them in becoming AI ready, or even taking that next step and looking to adopt Zendesk AI in their customer experience teams.